What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. This is my weekly gaming news show, and we got a lot of topics to cover this week, so let's just get right into it. So the story I wanted to start with is one that people have asked me to talk about quite a bit, and when I heard about it, I at first thought it was a bit of a non-issue, but it's the publication IGN, which does gaming reviews and gaming journalism. They purchased the company Humble Bundle. And at first I thought this was a non-issue because I thought Humble Bundle was still just that charity thing. I did not realize that Humble Bundle had gotten into a lot of other stuff. But the reason this is a bit of an issue is because not only do they have a storefront now where they sell video games, pretty much any game for any system, but then on top of that, they are also publishing games now, helping back games and helping small developers get their games published. So the conflict of interest here should be fairly obvious. IGN writes reviews for video games and then, encourages people to purchase them. And then obviously if Humble Bundle, which is now under their umbrella, publishes a game, they're probably going to have to review that game, and obviously they would have the incentive to encourage people to purchase that game because otherwise it would hurt their bottom line. I actually think it would probably go in the opposite direction. If I was in that situation, I would be very, very careful about how I reviewed a game that we published. I would probably recuse myself from it altogether. Maybe IGN doesn't feel they have that opportunity, but you would have to hire an impartial reviewer to probably be able to do that, and I hope that's something they will do. But I think moving forward, they're going to understand that people are going to be very, very critical. But this does open them up to an opportunity that I think could be abused. This actually reminds me when a few years back, GameStop decided they were going to publish games. And to date, I think they've published a total of 4 games, it looks like. Has-Been Heroes, Deformers, Song of the Deep, something called D2 Quiz. I don't even know what that is. But all of those games that they have published, I don't think they've received preferential treatment. And I would trust the folks over at IG and know that they're going to be scrutinized very heavily of this and to be very, very careful of it. At the end of the day, I think most people don't trust IGN already. Everybody seems to know. We know that they've been bought and paid for the reviews for years. There's never been any evidence of that, but everybody seems to presume it. But there's always been a conflict of interest because they've always sold out their front page to whatever latest game is coming out to promote it, and then they review the game. Here's the thing. I think the people who don't trust IGN are never going to trust IGN, but I think even the least skeptical of us should keep in mind which games are being published by Humble Bundle and then not trust IGN's review, looking instead for tools like Metacritic and OpenCritic. That's where you should be going for your game reviews anyway, because they do the same thing Rotten Tomatoes does, which is give you an aggregate. And even if IGN fudges the numbers by a couple of points, they're just one of a dozen or 5 dozen reviewers. It's not going to affect that percentage by very, very much. So I don't think this is an alarmist issue. I don't think this is something that we need to be very worried about. I think everybody needs to be aware of it and keep it in the back of their mind when they're reading reviews by IGN. But at the day of Metacritic and OpenCritic, those reviews really, to me, just add into the aggregate. They're very, very small and very, very minor. So there's only a handful of shenanigans that folks like IGN would be able to get up to. And instead, I think this is an opportunity to help a company like Humble Bundle continue to grow and continue to do awesome stuff. They've been doing some really cool stuff. And the fact that they're helping publish games, the fact that they're now selling games, often at a deep discount, and of course, they still help you get those cheap games for charity. I think that's a great thing. So at the end of the day, this is not something I'm particularly worried about, but I do think it should stick in the back of your mind. Now, the sponsor for this week's episode is Audible, and since it's Halloween, I wanted to recommend something very, very scary, very spooky. I know I recommend a lot of Stephen King books, but he is my favorite author, and this month, I wanted to recommend The Shining, because I think it's probably one of the best haunted house books that ever exist, and I think this is probably one of Stephen King's best works. Now, chances are you have probably seen the movie. But that's more of a Stanley Kubrick thing than a Stephen King thing, and even Stephen King said he used to hate that movie because of how vastly different it is from the book. It is a completely different experience. A lot of what makes the book good is not in the movie, and the movie has a lot of stuff that's not in the book. They are completely separate entities, and they can be enjoyed completely separate, and I really think if you've seen the movie and you like it, you're going to like the book a heck of a lot more. The best part, if you go to audible.com/BOOGIE, sign up for a trial membership, you can download this book absolutely for free on me and the folks over at Audible. And I think this is a great way to pass the time. Every time we go to a convention, every time we fly somewhere, every time we are on a long car trip, even if it's just an hour, Audible makes it a lot more bearable to be stuck in those boring situations. It can make those boring parts of your life a heck of a lot more interesting. Plus, Audible makes it really easy to build an audio library and to start downloading the latest and greatest books right there just by clicking a button on your phone instead of having to go to a bookstore and get the physical book. And I think it's a pretty good system. So if you want to start building your audio library, all you got to do is go to audible.com/BOOGIE, grab this book or any other for free on me, and you'll be supporting the show at the same time. What you're looking at right now is a patent filing by the folks over there at Activision. And it is one of the most disgusting things I have ever seen in my life. You may want to take a moment here to pause the screen and take a good look at this, but then I'll explain it soon after, and I guarantee you are going to be upset. So this patent is basically a mechanic designed to sell weak people microtransactions, items inside of video games. And right here, by the way, I threw up a list of the companies that Activision owns and the game licenses that they own, just so you have an idea of what games this kind of sneakery could show up in. Basically, the way this mechanism works is imagine you're playing an online game that has microtransactions built in. What the game would do is it would try to figure out the type of product that you would be interested in, the type of item. Let's imagine it's a weapon, and you absolutely would desire this weapon if you were ever see it used. So it'll put you in a match-made game against a player who has that weapon to encourage you to see it powerful. And often mentioned in this system is matching you against a player who's much more powerful than you, higher level, and so on and so forth, so the item seems even more profitable. Then they will then attempt to sell you the item and then mark down whether or not you purchase the item or not. If you do choose to purchase the item, they'll drop you into a game where that item will be much more powerful. You might outlevel everybody else. If you choose not to buy it, they might drop you in a game where you're going to continue to get outleveled and continue to get destroyed. But if you do purchase the item, the mechanism then allows them to matchmake you against other people who might be willing to buy the item if they were to see it in action as well. So then you'll be used moving forward as an advertisement for that item inside of the game. It is disgusting. No matter how you look at this, no matter how you slice it, it is awful. It is absolutely awful. And part of this patent I'm okay with, just a very small part of it. Anytime you ever run out of a currency in one of those games, they're going to advertise the currency. And when there's a new item on the market, they're going to advertise a new item. That I don't mind. It's the matchmaking part of it that makes this disgusting. The fact that they will purposely put you in bad games or put you in games to feature an item that they think you would be susceptible to is kind of disgusting. And the fact that they will ruin the experience for you if you choose not to purchase the item, or if you do choose to purchase the item, they will use you as an in-game advertisement. I think that is... I think that's just right out evil. I think that's evil. I think it's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. Now, the good news is this is just a patent, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are using it or that they will use it. It does not mean that it'll show up in Blizzard games or Call of Duty, but then again, it could very well be in the place of a lot of their mobile games under the King brand. For all we know, I honestly can't say for sure. But hopefully this will not be something they'll use. Hopefully it's a patent that they put into place. And the good news is if they choose not to use it, no one else can use it either because it's patented, or else they're facing a lawsuit. This could be one of those things that they do to actively discourage other people from doing it. But I don't think that's going to be the case because this is such a good idea, a disgustingly evil idea, but such a good way to make money. I would expect to see this kind of thing happening in the future. And that's, of course, why I've been preaching about this stuff in every episode, every week for the last year, because this is what it's always been coming to, something just as disgusting as this. The problem with a system like this is that a stalwart gamer like me, and hopefully you, can do very little about it, because whereas the mass majority of people would not be susceptible to this kind of thing, it identifies the people who are and targets them directly and puts them in a psychologically manipulated situation where they pull the trigger on this kind of stuff. And it's very similar to what casinos do with the free drinks and the everything else, the comping the buffet to get you to gamble more and spend more. It's why I don't gamble. It's why I don't want to gamble in my video games. It's why I don't want this stuff in my games. But it will find that person and drain them of every dime they have if they have the opportunity. They call them whales because of the amount of money that they can make. And it's frustrating and it's disgusting. And I honestly don't think it has any place in modern gaming. Speaking of gambling in video games, the folks over the ESRB, those are the people that put those ratings on the back of video games, decided that they would not consider loot boxes to be gambling, even calling it simulated gambling. They would not start classifying games with loot boxes as having simulated gambling or gambling inside of the games, which is kind of a frustrating thing because I absolutely think it is simulated gaming, but they disagree. Here's the statement from the ESRB. They said, the ESRB does not consider loot boxes to be gambling. While there's an element of chance in these mechanics, the player is always guaranteed to receive in-game content, even if the player unfortunately receives something they do not want. We think of it as a similar principle to collectible card games. Sometimes you'll open a pack and get a brand new holographic card you've had your eye on for a while, but other times you'll end up with a pack of cards you already have. Now, somebody who collects collectible trading cards and has for the last 25 years of his life, I can relate to that statement, but I think their logic is wrong. Take it from me, cracking into one of these packs absolutely triggers my dopamine receptors. It feels very, very similar to whether or not I win or lose a large amount of money. And here, I lost because that's a 20-cent rare. But trust me, you can ask any Magic player or Pokemon player, when you crack those packs, it feels like high-stakes gambling. Absolutely. The thing about these physical card games, though, is there's alternative ways to purchase these cards. You can buy them directly from vendors. You can get exactly the cards you want or need to build your deck. You can't do that in a game like Star Wars Battlefront 2. There's no way to directly buy the things you need. You have to gamble. And every time I open one of those loot boxes in a video game, if I get nothing, I feel the same depression I get when I open a pack like this. But when I open that legendary card, or I open that legendary skin in that game, or that legendary item I need, you're damn right it makes me feel good, and that's what I'm worried about. And I'm not asking the ESRB to censor our games or prevent this stuff from being put in games. That's fine. That's up to individual developers and consumers to figure out. But do you think you could up the rating a little bit so that we don't get our 8-year-olds trained to opening packs like that, get trained to that feeling so that they do that for the rest of their life? You think that's okay? Total Biscuit recommended a mature rating for it. I don't know if it needs to be mature, but I definitely think T for teen seems to make a lot of sense. And don't forget, the ESRB, these are the people that if there's simulated cartoon violence, they'll knock it up a grade. If it's got sex in it, you know for sure it's going to be an M for mature game. These are people that are afraid of sex, cartoon violence, drug references, drug use, just about anything else can really affect their games. And this is something that they think is E for everybody, and I don't think that's right. But look, that's my opinion, and I know you might have a differing opinion, or you may agree, and I'd love to hear about it in the comments section below, because this is a fairly difficult one. Do you consider this to be simulated gambling or not? Do you think this is something we should be protecting kids from? Do you think this is something the ESRB should be bumping ratings up for, or at least responding to in some way instead of their non-answer like they did give? This is something that's frustrating to me, and I know we've always had that attitude of if the kid gets a hold of the iPad or the credit card to it, they get whatever they deserve. They get whatever they deserve. But I'm not sure that's the case. If the ESRB is going to be harsh on everything else, including cartoon violence, for goodness sakes, isn't this something they should at least list on the box and maybe consider maybe it's not right for 8-year-olds to be able to gamble in a game like that? Well, we are about 12 minutes long, and I want to cut off the video here, even though I have not talked about everything I wanted to talk about, but there's always next week. I'm glad there's plenty of things to talk about. I'm sorry it's such a depressing episode. Let's talk about something a little more positive on our way out. As I said in the video earlier this week, looks like the game Cuphead has sold 1 million copies, so congratulations again to the developers of that game, the 3 people who put that game together. They were having trouble during the development stage. I heard at one point they were going to lose their house. I hope that's not the case anymore. Hopefully 1 million sales can buy you a heck of a house. So, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Big thanks to my sponsor for supporting me, audible.com/BOOGIE. Don't forget to check them out. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon.